In this video, I'll be going over some classic physique competitors who I believe have the most potential to make a big impact on the 2026 bodybuilding season. I'm going to try my best to break down why I think they have a lot of potential, but please feel free to leave your thoughts down below. Starting off, I have some honorable mentions to include. First is Terrence Ruffin. Now, he's already so close to realizing his full potential that it does feel a bit unfair to call him an up-and-comer. In 2025, he basically proved he's one of the most complete classic competitors right now. He won the Pittsburgh Pro and the New York Pro back-to-back, finished third at the Olympia, and then closed out the season by winning the Prague Pro. His balance is elite, his condition is consistently razor-sharp, and his posing is definitely some of the best we've seen in many years. The only real limitation now, I would say, is size. He's already about 95% maxed out, and adding just a little bit more pop in the upper body and legs from behind would really push him into absolutely terrifying territory. But because he's already operating so close to his peak, he's more of an established competitor rather than a true future potential sort of guy, which is why he's here. The next and final honorable mention I have is Mike Sommerfeld. This one really needs no explanation, because Mike is already someone who could walk into the Olympia and win. He's very dense, huge, and peeled, and structurally gifted in a way that most classic competitors are simply not. The taper, the shape, the flow, everything really does check every major genetic box. He also poses pretty well, which only makes the physique hit even harder on stage. At this point, I would also say that Mike is around 95% of what his potential can realistically be while staying in classic physique, which is why he's not in the main potential video. This video is focusing more on athletes who can still have a clear path to grow, and Mike is basically at the very top already. And honestly, with the way things are going for him, it feels like only a matter of time before he wins the Mr. Olympia, height controversy or not. Alright, getting into the actual list, first up we have Josema Beast. Josema is one of those guys who just keeps on getting better and better every single time he comes onto the stage, and he has been defying expectations for 2 years straight. He does not have the prettiest shape in the lineup, but the way he keeps refining his angles and his posing really does make that less and less relevant. At this point, there's not a single mandatory pose in my opinion where he looks bad. Even with a wider waist, he pulls off a really impressive vacuum, shows a clean and detailed midsection, and keeps everything really controlled. That all said, his most impressive trait has got to be the insane condition. Nobody in this division right now brings the kind of granite look that Josema has, or in any other division for that matter. His skin texture looks like it's carved out of stone, the cuts are insanely deep, and the detail in the back and hamstrings might be the best in the entire division. He has no major flaws anymore. The only thing separating him from the guys ahead of him is pure shape. But even with that, he finished 4th at the Olympia and then absolutely dominated the Romania Pro with one of his best looks to date. While he was already great, his physique does keep on improving show to show, and if he continues this trajectory, which I think is very possible, 2026 could easily be the year he outworks everyone. Next on the list is Diego Galindo, and he really shocked me this season by cracking the top 6 at the Olympia. A year ago, he was barely talked about, and I didn't really know who he was, but when he won the Gomesa Pro this year, and I saw how complete he looked, I remember thinking he could definitely hang with the very best. I did not really expect him, though, to be this good this fast. Once you look at his physique, though, it makes a lot of sense. He has a tight waist, a very strong vacuum, wide clavicles, and balanced development from the ground up. His arms pop, his legs are very thick and detailed, especially the quads, but also the hamstrings as well, and his structure gives him that look that really stands out. The most underrated part of his entire look, though, is the rear double. The insertions, the taper, and the detail all add up to make one of the most complete rear doubles in this entire division. He also brings high-level condition while keeping a really aesthetic, pleasing flow. The only real limitation, though, has got to be his height, because classic weight caps can make it a little bit tougher for shorter guys to keep on filling out. But Diego is really polished already, and this might not really be a major issue for him. He has a lot of potential to move up even further next season, win the big shows as well outside of the Olympia, and become a legitimate threat at any classic show he enters in 2026. Moving on, we have Nile Darwin, who might be my favorite classic aesthetic competitor in the sport right now. His shoulder to waist ratio is unreal, his X frame is about as good as it gets, and when he walks out, you immediately see why people call his genetics 1 in a million. His silhouette alone puts him in that amazing elite territory. But what makes him so exciting to me is that he is still improving and actively pushing towards his full potential. This season, he picked up a win at the Tampa Pro, and then finished top 5 at the Olympia, which is a massive achievement considering how stacked this division is. He brought even more size to the arms and back, tightened up the presentation, and showcased better overall condition than he has in the past. Now, conditioning is still definitely his weaker area, not that he comes in soft by any means, but next to guys like Josema Beast, for example, some areas like the hamstrings from behind or the separation in the arms from the front are not really quite as carved out yet, but even then, the shape is so impressive that just, 5 to 10% more detail could really genuinely put him in that Olympia contender category. A little more width in the back as well could help, but the physique is really coming together beautifully. In my opinion, if he makes another jump in 2026 when it comes to improvements, he could be one of the biggest threats in this division. Also, if you guys are enjoying the video so far, like and sub would really be awesome, as it helps out my channel tremendously. Now let's talk about Tomislav Stremecki, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. If I'm not mistaken though, he only turned pro recently, and he has had one of the fastest rises in this division that I have seen lately. He won the 2025 Hungary Pro, and then shocked a lot of people by taking second to Josema Beast at the Romania Pro. And I genuinely mean shocked, because I had no idea he was that good. Tomislav has really full insertions everywhere, a strong silhouette, and proportions that already look like a seasoned veteran. His conditioning is very impressive. His quads are a standout body part by far, and his back is also just as impressive. When he hits his front and rear doubles, for example, you can clearly see how balanced he is and how naturally classic his structure looks. He really does have that kind of frame that can take you extremely far in this division, or even in the open if he chooses. Now, I do not want to overhype him too early, but when I first saw his structure, he honestly reminded me a little bit of Chris Bumstead. That is how much raw potential I think he may have. It's all going to depend though on how he progresses in 2026, and hopefully he stays healthy, keeps improving, and does not fade with the pressure of being a new breakout star. Next up is Mattius Medagachi. I'd say he had a good season in 2025, winning the Texas Pro, and then placing 7th at the Olympia with what I think was the best version of his physique so far. He added a lot more size, sharpened up his condition, and brought a look that showcases how much potential he finally has. Structurally, he does have a lot working in his favor. He's got a tight waist, flaring lats that give him a powerful and round V-taper, and pretty good arms and legs that balance out the frame well. But if he wants to take that next jump to true title contender status, the back and chest definitely need to come up. His clavicles are on the narrow side, so building even more width and density in the back will help him stand out from behind against, a lot of the competitors he's going up against. And while his chest has gotten a bit better, I would say, more fullness would add pop to poses like the side chest, of course, and help the upper body look more three-dimensional in general. He is making steady, consistent improvements each season, and because his structure is so promising, those changes can go a long way. I am really excited to see how far he can push things in 2026, because he has the genetics to easily be in that top 5 if those key areas do continue to grow. Now let's move on to Piotr Voytovich. This was Piotr's rookie season, and he delivered one of the strongest debuts at the Olympia in 2025. He won the Europa Pro, and I think this was his best look so far, and then he replicated almost the same package at the Olympia and finished 13th. That is extremely impressive for a newcomer, especially given how deep the lineup is. He then went on to take a controversial 4th place at the Romania Pro, and while the placing did not go his way, he still brought a physique that was right in line with his previous showings. In my opinion, what stands out the most about him is the structure. He has a really small waist, big round arms, thick quads, and a silhouette that honestly reminds me a bit of Sergio Oliva. It's a unique look in this division, where many top guys share very similar shapes, and that alone gives him a competitive advantage. His front poses are definitely his biggest strength. This is where his proportions and lines really do show, and the areas that do need a bit more work would be the side shots and the back poses. Adding more density overall, especially in that back, will make those mandatory poses hit a lot harder and help him look a lot more competitive from every single angle. But considering how consistently he peaks and how unique he really does look, I think he has a very bright future. He should become a regular show winner as he fills out those missing pieces, and 2026 will be very interesting to see. Here is Luca Raer, and I'm not as familiar with him as some of the other guys on this list, but he's one of those competitors I see competing pretty often, and he consistently places pretty well. Even though he did not win a show in 2025, he still qualified for the Olympia this year, and while he did not place there, the fact that he's already on the stage in his early 20s says a lot about all the potential he may have. I'd say that Luca has a clean genetic foundation, he's got a small waist, pretty wide clavicles, no major insertion issues, and his legs are a standout feature. His conditioning is usually solid enough to get him into the first or second callouts, and his taller structure does make him stand out since it grabs your attention as he walks onto the stage. Now, he's definitely not close to maxing out his potential yet at all. His arms and back still need a lot more size, and his conditioning can be sharper. But even with those areas still developing, most of his poses are already above average simply because of his shape and overall presentation. Considering his age, I do think he has a great future in this division, and with the height and lines he has, he is also someone who I think would do extremely well in the open if he ever decided to move up. Next is Andrea Mamole. Now, Andrea had a really strong season in 2025, picking up 2 wins at the France Pro and the Italy Pro. I think things got a bit weird at the Olympia with a supposed call-out mix-up according to him, and he ended up not placing, but based on the physique he brought, I think he absolutely deserved to be in that mix. Every time he competes, he shows up conditioned, pretty dry and sharp, and that reliable look is a huge reason why he wins shows. In my opinion, his arms and quads are his standout features, but one of the most underrated strengths he has would be his vacuum. It's extremely detailed and controlled, and it helps his front poses look extremely clean and classic. His front shots in general, I would say, are his best. The arms, the legs, the tight midsection, and the overall presentation all click when he's facing the judges. He also has improved his side poses, which used to be kind of weaker. Now, he definitely needs to work on his back though. He's naturally a bit narrow, and the lack of width and density in the lats from behind becomes really noticeable. It's not a major flaw at smaller shows, which he can win, but if he wants to climb higher at big shows like the Olympia, bringing up that back will make a massive difference. Overall, the foundation is pretty strong, and if he fixes that one area, his ceiling becomes much higher moving into 2026. Now let's go to Justin Batterina. He's one of my personal favorites and someone that I've been following closely for a while now. Every season he comes back noticeably better, and you can tell he's inching closer to truly maxing out his potential. Structurally, he has everything you want in a classic physique. He's got a wide frame, strong legs, a tight waist, and a taller silhouette that makes it easier to stand out in any lineup. Now, his front poses look really impressive, and his side chest is one of the most, impressive in the division as well, with a great chest and maybe the biggest side leg in this division, but the back poses are still the area holding him back a lot. He lacks that detail and development in the traps and lower lats, and compared to the rest of his physique, the back can look very thin, even when his conditioning is spot on. His arms, especially the triceps as well, could use a little bit more sweep and pop to fully match the width of his frame, but overall, he took a pretty long offseason this year, returned to take 9th at the Olympia, and then came right back a week later to win the Hurricane Pro. The improvements were obvious at both shows, and really impressive as well. If he can bring that same level of refinement next season, especially with added mass to the back, he has a lot of potential to climb even higher in 2026. Moving on, we have Matt Grego. Now, Matt had a pretty strong season this year with some impressive high placings at big shows, and he picked up a well-earned win at the Detroit Pro. I will say that this year was not as dramatic of a leap forward compared to other previous seasons of his, but that's not a knock at all. He's still young, still developing, and already has a physique built on great genetics and flow. Structurally, he is about as solid as it gets. He's got no major flaws, pretty good limbs, great quads, I would say, and wide flaring lats from the front. When he faces the judges head on, his shape is really impressive, but where he still needs a lot of work is in the back. For whatever reason, the rear poses do not match what you see from the front, and the density and detail are not really there. His conditioning is another area that he can work on a lot to take him to that next level. Now, it's not like he doesn't show up in good shape. I mean, he's usually pretty good, but he's not quite ultra sharp, I would say, and sometimes he has a thin layer of water that keeps him from looking as sharp as he could be. Now, he works really hard, I think. He competes pretty often, and with a real focused offseason to develop the back and tighten up the condition, I think he can make a really big jump in 2026. I think he has all the tools. He really does just need to refine the weaker areas and bring that true razor sharp finish to maximize all the potential he has. Finally, we have Logan Franklin, who does not really need an introduction, as I'm sure all of you know him by now, and his shape is one of the most impressive in the entire division when it comes to looking really classic. This year he had some strong moments like a second place finish to Mike Sommerfeld and winning the Florida Pro, but the Olympia was not really the showing he needed. Logan is known for having inconsistent peaks, and sometimes he lands a bit too flat or too full, which takes away from the overall presentation that his physique relies on. Now, apart from the peak, he still does need a bit more size in key areas, like from the back he could use a little bit more width and overall density, and from the front his arms and chest do need a bit more volume to really keep up with his frame. But when he stands alone, the shape and proportions still look nearly perfect. He may not have the freakiest Dex frame in the lineup, but his silhouette, lines, and posing all scream golden era to many fans, and that aesthetic is exactly why so many fans still see the massive potential in him. Now, I was a bit hesitant to include him here since he has been competing for so long, but with the right timing, a proper peak, a little bit more size, and a clean classic presentation, there really is no reason why he cannot break into the Olympia top 10 or win big shows again in 2026. Well guys, that about does it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and opinions, and I do hope you guys enjoyed. With that all being said, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.